Hello, everyone. My name is Shelby Richardson, and this is my current issue speech. Immigration is the movement of people into a destination country which they are not natives of or where they do not possess citizenship in order to settle or reside there, especially as permanent residents or naturalized citizens, or to take up employment as a migrant worker or temporarily as a foreign worker. When people cross national borders during their migration, they are called migrants or immigrants from the perspective of the country which they enter. Immigrants are motivated to leave their former countries of citizenship or residence for a variety of reasons, including a lack of local access to resources, a desire for economic prosperity, to find or engage in paid work to better their standard of living, retirement, climate or environmentally induced immigration, exile, escape from the prejudice, natural disaster, or simply the wish to change one's quality of life. Tourists and other short-term stays in a destination country do not fall under the definition of immigrants or migration. Seasonal labor immigration is sometimes included. In 2013, the United Nations estimated that there were 231,522,215 immigrants in the world. The United Nations reported that there were nearly 191 million international immigrants worldwide, about 3% of the world's population. One theory of immigration distinguishes between push and pull factors, making up a significant amount of the labor force. Poor individuals from less developed countries can have higher standards of living in developed countries than in their originating countries. As transportation technology improved, travel time and cost decreased dramatically between the 18th and early 20th century. Travel across the Atlantic used to take up to 5 weeks in the 18th century, but around the time of the 20th century, it took about 8 days. Some migration is for personal reasons based on relationship. Recent research has found gender, age, and cross-cultural differences in the ownership of the idea to immigrate. Evasion of criminal justice is a personal motivation. This type of immigration is not normally legal if a crime is internationally recognized, although criminals may disguise their identities or find other loopholes to evade detection. For example, there have been cases of those who might be guilty of war crimes disguising themselves as victims of war or conflict and then pursuing shelter in a different country. Barriers to migration come not only in legal form or political form. Natural and social barriers to immigration can also be very powerful. Immigrants, when leaving their country, also leave everything familiar, their family, friends, support network, and culture. When they arrive in a new country, this is often with many uncertainties, including finding work, where to live, new laws, and cultural customs, language or accent issues, possible racism, and other behavior towards them and their family. These barriers act to limit international migration. What would happen if America kicked out 13% of its population, or 80 million people? Because 13% or 80 million people in America are immigrants. We should allow immigrants because America we live in today was born from immigrants, and we should have a path to citizenship. This impacts so many lives around us. Most of our ancestors were immigrants, and currently in America we have over 80 million. I chose this topic because it means a lot to me. Many of my friends and people around me are immigrants, and I see and hear the struggles they go through. The first main point I will talk about is undocumented immigrants. Second, I will talk about the struggle of immigrants and then how it impacts America. And lastly, why we should have a path to citizenship. I shall now start to tell you about immigration and their struggles and what we should do to help them. There are currently in the U.S. 11 million undocumented immigrants. Most of the immigrants are coming to the U.S. to get better jobs and to make a better life for them and their family. Most undocumented immigrants get caught at the border and they have a very strict punishment. One struggle in the beginning is learning a whole new language so they can find a job. Most of the time, they are put in back-breaking jobs and get paid very little. If the parents are caught, then the children would be put up for adoption. Immigration makes America more diverse and enriches the culture. Immigrants raise the demand for goods, which helps the economy. Why we should have a path to citizenship is because this shall boost our economy even more. By 2050, America will have a 42% growth in the working age. Also, a diversity of workers will help the workforce be more creative, and the productivity will help the aging population. Thanks to our forefathers who were immigrants, we have the freedoms we have today, and we should allow other immigration to live the way we do today. I first covered undocumented immigrants. Second, I discussed the struggles of immigration and how it impacts America. And finally, why we should have a path to citizenship for immigrants. What would you do? What would you want to happen if you were an undocumented immigrant and you were being deported and you were going to lose your kids and serve jail time for wanting to create a better life for your family? Hello everyone, my name is Shelby Richardson and this is my commemorative speech. In 1905, after seeing a need in the area, Benjamin Jacob Dimer marked off part of his farm and started the Green Lawn Cemetery. This same exact cemetery, which is 20 minutes, 2 right turns, and a tombstone, marks the spot where the biggest piece of my heart was laid to rest, March 22, 2013. His tombstone reads, "Devoted father, loving husband, you will forever be in our hearts," and that he was. My grandpa was an incredible man. He was tall, handsome, and hardworking in his younger days, and in his old age, he was loving and full of unheard wisdom. While the cemetery he rests in is normally sought after unfortunate circumstances, I will always find solace there, knowing it is the place my grandpa will reside for eternity. For 6 generations, Green Lawn has served the area with dignity and respect and is a trusted part of Springfield's history. I remember it like it was yesterday, when the day came that I had to put on the black dress I had just bought for a funeral I did not want to go to. My eyes hurt from crying, and I didn't care much for the fabric of the dress, but it was my last chance to say goodbye to the man who impacted my life more than anyone else. The 20-minute drive felt like it took months, and the outcome of people upon arrival was surprising. And at the same time, like a second blow to an already aching heart, he was so loved by the world. We took our seats marked reserved for immediate family, and proceeded with the funeral. The room was filled with the scent of flowers and sound of sniffles from everyone's sobs. A preacher came first and spoke of the Lord and how all good sheep must be called home at some point. And a friend came up next and spoke of glory days spent on railroad tracks with a persona of my grandfather I had never got the opportunity to know. His brother told a story of a time they went hunting, and finally my grandmother approached and spoke only in fond words of how much he loved his family. With a choked voice, she told everyone who had ever known my grandfather what he regretfully could not, that he loved them in life and would always, even after. He was lowered into the ground, each shovel of dirt landing with a thunk that resounded in my ears as I wept for my own heart and sadness. It felt that I would never see my grandfather again. I know that a grave is just a symbolic place. The person I loved is gone, and although his bones lay beneath my feet, his spirit wanders somewhere I cannot touch. Still, though, his grave makes me feel closer to him than anywhere else. I can close my eyes and remember clearly the man he was, flesh and blood, living and breathing, bowl of vanilla ice cream before bed at 11, up by 7, and on with his day. That's how he lived, simple and scheduled. He taught me all about country life, cattle and tractors, how to grow corn, and where to find frogs. He knew just about everything good worth knowing. Green Lawn Cemetery is more often than not considered a sad place, like any other resting place for lost loved ones. However, for me, it's just the home of my grandpa, and I enjoy being there. I miss my grandpa every single day, and not a second goes by that I don't think of him. Where he calls home will never be a sad place to me, even if it means I have to bring him fresh flowers at every visit. It is such a beautiful place, with over 100 undeveloped acres. Green Lawn will continue to provide for future generations a place of beauty and respect. I love the way there is a tree that stands above his grave, with the sun shining through it, lighting it up. I love the way the green grass and the smell of the flowers cover the graves. The way it is so quiet and peaceful while the wind blows on my face. It is a feeling that I cannot describe when visiting my grandfather. I am glad to know that my grandfather is resting in a place as great as he is. Thank you for watching.